that. Good for him.
That's right. So, no, we'll talk a lot of Cam Ward. We've been unpacking most of the rest of the draft class because we've been spending the previous 3 weeks talking about Cam Ward. And so now we're going to have a conversation about Cam Ward and what makes what should make Titans fans the most confident in Cam Ward working out as the Titans franchise quarterback moving forward. And then what maybe we're concerned about a little bit. So we've got some good top picks here, some good content, some good graphic and video. I pulled two videos from Cam Ward today that really impressed me about what Cam Ward is as a quarterback prospect and a person here on the show. So it's also Thursday, which means we got trivia to wrap up the show. So Easton, welcome in. Let's have a good start to this Thursday. Here we go.
Yeah, excited about this show, Austin, because to your point, it's not been a lot of talk about Cam Ward, and I think from a content creation standpoint, it's been a little daunting for folks. It's this weird thing where he was the clear number 1 overall pick. We've been talking about it for months. It's one of those things where we can't do a show based around us selling the audience on the value. It's like, well, he's your quarterback. He's either going to work out or he's not. So how do you approach the Cam Ward topic? Obviously, once we get into the actual football, it'll be all Cam Ward all the time, baby. But right now, it feels like we should be talking more about it. And I think we found a good starting point for us to discuss the Cam Ward era of the Tennessee Titans and get the audience involved here. So looking forward to hear what you guys in the audience have to say. And the way that we get to see what you have to say is when you join the chat. And the entry ticket to join the chat today, I have decided, is one like on the show. Please, on Facebook, on YouTube, hit that thumbs up and you will gain unfettered entry into our live chat. And we want to hear from you guys. Already see Nick, Titans, Kyle, Landon, Daniel, Rashid, Nando, Bork, Anthony, Vanessa, some familiar faces. Good morning to you all. Join them over in the live chat on Facebook or on YouTube after you have hit like on the show for us this morning, please, and thank you.
Yeah, so let's do it officially and get it going. Easton, you sound better. I sound worse. So I don't know if it's like you're doing this and I'm doing that. As this week,
you grow a beard, I lose a beard. I gain a voice, you lose a voice.
I'm not losing a voice. I'm just fighting through. I'm just like punching pollen out of the air as it's flying off of the black walnut trees in my backyard. But let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports here live on a Thursday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze, one of our Titans reporters for A to Z Sports.com. And we're Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Make sure you leave a 5-star Google review. I saved something. I have 2 5-star reviews that I got an email about this morning that I will read here after the official open. So leave us a 5-star Google review. That would be amazing for A to Z Sports.
I'm intrigued.
But do got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Seaman Lebanon are online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. You can find them in their local online at bartondrury.com. By the way, happy May. There's about to be a bunch of Justin Timberlake jokes on the internet today, so prepare yourself.
Indeed.
So a couple 5-star, a couple 5-star reviews here. I saw Ryan has a 5-star review and Alan with a 5-star review. Alan says excellent sports talk and analysis in a great format, highly informative and entertaining. And then you got Ryan here, who I have to click on to expand his comment because his comment was so in depth. That Ryan says, I listen to your show, watch it every morning on the way to work. I truly do appreciate how you all break down the game, different decisions that are made throughout the league and also the Titans facility. Wish there were 10 stars that I could give. Wow. But Ryan, shout out to the 5-star review there that he wished for 10 stars. So anyway, we move forward talking about Cam Ward. Easton, what has been your thoughts and response about the Cam Ward selection at 1 overall and how little it's been discussed? And then you have like Kyle Brandts of the world who are out there fighting the fight of why is Cam Ward not getting discussed enough as a number 1 overall pick. But what's kind of been your take on the discourse surrounding Cam or lack thereof?
Yeah, I did an out-of-town radio interview on Tuesday that asked me that this was the opening question as well, because we were kind of, that was in the wake of the Kyle Brandt thing. And the way that I wasn't really ready for the question, so I kind of talked it out in real time and came to a conclusion. And the conclusion I came to is it just feels like a microcosm to me of what Titans fans are familiar with, the general treatment of the franchise from a national perspective, the general treatment of the market from a national perspective. It's not surprising to anyone who's been around for any amount of time, but it is always disappointing and can be frustrating for sure. I will say that, like, is it ironic and like perfect that the Jaguars decided to do what they did and make that the talking point immediately once Cam Ward was off the board? Yes, it is. Like, of course that happened, because we were talking before the draft about how, well, the Titans are always the designated commercial break in the first round. How are they going to get a commercial break on the first overall pick? And they kind of found a way around that. The Jaguars gave them an alley-oop and they dunked it.
Yeah.
That being said, of course they had to talk about it in real time with the Jaguars. I don't begrudge them for talking about that trade. It was
No, it's huge, and it was unexpected.
Yes, of course. The minute it happens, you talk about it. And they also had talked in the 10 to 15 minutes leading up to the pick and leading up to the beginning of the round about the Titans and Cam Ward some. And I heard Daniel Jeremiah talking about the Steve McNair stuff. And so it's not like they didn't talk about it. But to a lot of people online's point, that would have been a pick that if the Cowboys had been the first overall pick and taken Cam Ward at the 9th overall pick, they'd have circled back to that topic. At the 12th overall pick, they'd circle back to Cam Ward and probably shown what he's up to. Oh, by the way, here an hour after being picked, here's what Cam's still doing. Oh, no, here's a shot at Jerry still talking, having a good time. So, that was an afterthought for sure. And we've heard from the Ward camp about how that's exactly the way that they want it to be. And that's Cam's preference. That's his MO, to kind of fly under the radar, and he couldn't care any less about it. So I guess just not surprised at all, but it is a little bit disappointing. And it is always a little bit funny to me that the genre of Titans talk in the national media is either not talking about them or talking about how we're not talking about them, never just talking about them.
Right. And also, when there is talk about the Titans, there is like misguided context of like what something, a big missing piece of the conversation of the actual Titans team. So Cam Ward is the face of the franchise, and he's going to be the franchise quarterback. Will Levis has not been traded. We've talked more Will Levis this week than we have Cam Ward this week up until now. So we're about to have an entire show about Cam Ward before we get to trivia. And so I was reminded of I went back and watched his Friday press conference, Cam's, and you were in the building. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you this question, and I've not prepped you for this question either. So this is like maybe the radio thing. Okay. When you were at the press conference, there was Warren Moon, Hall of Fame quarterback, and there was Cam Ward. Was there a feeling in the press conference? Did it feel big? Did it feel comfortable? Did it feel like, does that make sense? Like, did you feel the presence of somebody important in the room?
It's harder to answer than you'd think, because for anyone that's been to one of these bigger press conferences, the ones that we have up on the third level, not in the smaller media facility, they're always a weird feel no matter what, because it is the biggest group that we do these things with. It's always a mix of weird worlds. Like, you've got the regular media people, you've got the regular Titans brass that we interact with on a regular basis. You've also got a bunch of people standing in the back of the room who, like, you vaguely recognize. You're not quite sure who they are, but they're kind of around. You've got executives that you never see who show their face from a like pomp and circumstance standpoint. Yeah. You've got family usually of the players or the brass that are there, and so that you don't ever see them otherwise. And then you have people like Warren Moon all of a sudden's there, and Jeff Darlington's there, and it's a strange, uncomfortable mix. What I will say is that I think there was an opportunity there for that moment that they orchestrated to feel a little hollow, feel like a little awkward, in the sense that, like, well, this, better work. Like, I don't know if this is a good idea, kind of thing. And maybe for a lesser player or for a different kind of player with a different kind of vibe, maybe you'd be like, oh, I might be sitting there thinking this might age really badly. And it may still, but I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than I think Cam kind of fit the moment. And I think that the moment was right for that day and for that press conference. And obviously having a Hall of Famer in the room is a big deal for anybody in sports. And I had never interacted with Warren Moon in any way, so it was cool to have him there. But that's kind of my takeaway, is that it felt right. And I think that kind of thing can often feel wrong or gimmicky or like a bad idea waiting to happen. And it didn't this time.
Interesting. Yeah, it felt right. Okay. Well, hopefully he's the right quarterback for the Titans, and he takes them out of the last 3 years of just quarterback purgatory and rotational door of quarterbacks getting sacked. So let's ask this question, Easton. I know both of us have answers, and I have video prepared. You have graphics prepared. I am in the dark on your graphic. You're in the dark on my video. But what makes you the most confident about Cam Ward working out as the Titans franchise quarterback? What makes you most confident in Cam Ward actually panning out as the Titans franchise quarterback? We'll get to all of your opinions here in a moment. But first, I want to tell you guys about the Barton Drury Insurance Group. They are locally owned and operated and can be there for any of your insurance needs. When Zach and I were shopping around in the market to gain employee benefits and health coverage for our company, we shopped, we looked, we saw, and we picked Barton Drury Insurance Group. Truly a one-stop shop for both personal and business. They sell employee benefits, 401k planning, life insurance, workers' comp, liability, auto, property, and umbrella. And like I mentioned, all four of those guys there on your screen are local and super accessible. You pick up the phone, call them, text them, email, jump on a Zoom. They can walk you through what your insurance policies actually mean, so make sure you understand a very complicated thing that is insurance. So check them out online, bartondrury.com, Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all your insurance needs.
There's so much more to say, but first, make sure you have liked the show. Make sure you have left a 5-star Google review like the two fine gentlemen that we read off this morning. We appreciate those. We do read those. And they are a big help to us and our site as we continue to dominate the sports landscape. A to Z to the moon, help us out. Hit that 5-star review and hit the like on the show this morning.
All right, question to kick us off here, Easton. What makes you most confident about Cam Ward panning out for the Titans as their franchise quarterback? I'll go ahead and send you to the chat, and we'll see what people are saying here before we get to our answers.
Yeah, let's see. A lot of answers here. A lot of answers. Scrolling up. All right, here we go. What makes you most confident? Bustin' Diamond says his demeanor. Daniel says his love of football. Tall Texan says his resiliency. Joshua says his attitude. Titans Kyle, how level-headed and calm he is. Andre Bunting, his drive. Jason says his demeanor. NM Titan says his mindset. Bork says moxie. Hoshi says demeanor. So demeanor, a common one. Attitude, also a common one. His coachability, Craig says he likes that quite a bit. Corey says his gut tells him this is the right thing for the Titans. Drayden, humble but a winner, buying food for his dog. Landon, his mindset. Deborah, his determination. Jeff, the simple fact that it can't get worse, he hopes. Never say never, Jeff.
I mean, anything can always get worse. Yes.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of attitude. I'm seeing a lot of personality, mindset, determination. A lot of the things about Cam that we've talked about and championed throughout the process here. But the chip that he has on his shoulder is another one that I've seen.
Okay. Mine has not specifically been answered. It's, kind of been just, discussed.
Mm-hmm.
What has yours been mentioned yet?
We kind of danced around mine, but
same.
Yeah.
So you want to go first or me go first?
Go for it.
All right. It's his background.
Okay. Elaborate.
Cam Ward's background makes me feel confident that this is going to work out because he's had his back against the wall the entire step of the way. And so here is a couple questions and answers from Cam Ward's intro press conference Friday that Easton was at, talking about how it felt right. And a lot of those things feel weird But here was Cam Ward talking really about his background in a few different ways.
Your general manager say that it was not only you as a player, but you as a person that attracted this organization to you and wanting to make you the number one pick.
It means a lot, especially, my background, where I came from, on what I had to do to get to this journey. But, it was all, God and hard work. And I just think I did a lot of little things in my career to, take care of everything, to maximize my talents. And so I'm excited to get to work here. Just meeting my guys in the locker room, in the cafeteria already. I know some good things are about to happen.
Cam, you have your parents here. They played, obviously, a critical role in your development and everything. What do you say to them? Now that you've gotten to this point, how can you repay them for all the work they put in?
I just think I can't repay them. Nothing can, just what they sacrificed since I was a kid all the way to high school to where I am now. Just they sacrificed financially for me, time-wise. There's days my dad would wake up at 5 a.m. We drive halfway across Texas to get to camps. And so I'll never be able to repay them, but, I just hope, me being to repay them one way is, just by putting on for them and the family on the field.
How'd you develop that skill for being so level-headed, to not getting high, getting low, and just kind of what is the key to keeping that in the tough moments?
I would say by losing a lot in my life, and whether it's off the field, on the field, I just think the more you never change your level, more good things will happen to you. And, you also got to be a good teammate, because at the end of the day, I'll never be the only person to win us a game. I'll always be, receiver catching the ball, the running back running, defense tackling. And so, everybody plays a vital role, and, I'm just trying to do mine each week out.
Cam Ward turns 23 years old in 24 days. He answers these questions like somebody who has way more life experience than a guy who's about to turn 23 years old. And I think his background is really important here. Easton, how crazy is it that a quarterback that was just drafted by an NFL franchise to be the number one pick, somebody asked him, how did you learn how to be level-headed? How wild is it and unique? You never hear somebody say by losing, but it's so right.
Mm-hmm.
It's his background has prepared him for this. And, I've got another video that I could play later on about how he leads. But the maturity that he approaches things with, the perspective that he has about his parents' sacrifice of money and time to get him out of or into the best situation possible. And I've said this, I want your thoughts on the whole losing comment too.
Mm-hmm.
But I've talked about this. I kind of had the epiphany back, watching college basketball this season, is that there are two types of athletes. There's the athlete that I will call outdoor basketball guy, who is out there scratching and clawing and just hooping and balling and doing it out of the love of the game, and it's not conventional. And then there's indoor basketball guy who has every resource available to get the best coaching, the best training, the best shoes, the best ball in the best gyms with the best court, no slipping on the court. You're squeaking, you're jumping, you've got everything clean. You got good equipment, good everything. But the indoor basketball guy doesn't really know what to do when he gets punched in the face.
Mm-hmm.
The outdoor basketball guy does. The outdoor basketball guy can improvise, can adapt and create on his own based on whatever situation is presented, because that's what they've lived through. And I think Cam Ward was outdoor basketball guy up until he got to Washington State. And then he's had the right blend of having the outdoor basketball guy background of scratching and clawing and straining for everything, but also accepting that indoor basketball kind of polishing on his way through his college career to become the number one overall pick. So his background is my answer on why I'm most confident in him.
Yeah, I have heard that metaphor from you before, and I think that it is certainly applicable here. The thing that I'm kind of reading the comments as we go through, and I'm seeing some folks mention the parallel that I think is only fair to bring up between somebody like Cam and Shedeur, right? Who folks know how I feel about Shedeur, but somebody like Shedeur has had such a different path from what somebody like Cam has had. And obviously we have seen guys with a path more similar to Shedeur's, where you've heard of helicopter parenting. There's a step above helicopter parenting, which I learned about the past couple of months. Snowplow parenting. You ever heard of this?
I have not, no.
Snowplow parenting is a helicopter parent that is they're not just hovering over you and your goings on. They are clearing the way for you. They are driving the bus and making sure that road is nice and clean and ice free and wide open lane, no traffic for you, baby. All you got it. We believe in you. We will make sure that everything is nice and easy for you to drive down this road. And listen, if you got the power to do it, in my opinion, go for it. Like if you're a Hall of Famer, you know, who everything you've touched in football your entire life has turned to gold because your name is Deion Sanders, I don't hold that against you for being a little bit of a snowplow parent. I'd probably do the exact same thing. But it's what's happened. It's what's happened for him. And there's a reason why he was the whatever recruit coming out of high school, and then he's the starter for Jackson State. And, you know, he is getting to throw to the number 1 or number 2 recruit in the entire country in high school in Travis Hunter. And then those guys go to Colorado, and he's the no question starter at quarterback. And they have the year that they had. Again, I think that he's a good player. So I don't think that he's a total Nepo baby product of his dad. The league may kind of think that, but I don't currently think that. But that being said, that is what hardships have players like Shadir faced as compared to somebody like Cam, and what kind of losing, not just losing on the scoreboard on Saturdays, but losing in life, getting knocked back down and having to pull yourself back up again, having to have that internal drive to want to keep going, and the fundamental love for something. Or sometimes it's love, sometimes it's a insatiable desire to accomplish something. You simply can't live with yourself if you don't get something. Whatever it is that's motivating you, you're a battleship on the ocean. You're powered by a self-contained nuclear fusion engine. You don't need any fuel. It's all in here. And no matter what happens, this is going to keep you going. That's what I see in somebody like Cam Ward. And I think it's different from somebody like Shadir Sanders. And again, people who don't have that do still succeed in the NFL based on talent.
Sure.
But I think Cam has that. And I think that not only gives me confidence for him immediately, Austin, but it gives me more confidence in when something goes wrong, because something will go wrong, because it's the NFL and it's also life. And that's just the way that it works. It gives me confidence that he's not going to be rattled and shaken in a way that other guys, somebody like Will Levis, frankly, where you're like, I hope that they can recover from this. I feel like Cam's going to be able to recover from it, whatever it is. And that's a reassuring thing that I'm not sure Titans fans have experienced in a long time.
Yeah. Let me, all of those things you said is great. Wrights is like Easton's stealing my whole flow. So
we're on the same page, Wrights.
I think people have, brought up a lot of different examples of this, and I know saw Vanessa was talking about Rocky versus Drago, from Rocky,
a movie that I've seen and love.
You have not seen that, have you?
Nope.
Okay, so
I know the bit though. I do get the reference.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I also think there's and I'm not trying to pin Cam Ward versus Will Levis, but I do think there are good examples of both sides of the coin here.
Mm-hmm.
In the world of college football and college athletics, transfers are the norm. It's weird. Like Alec Ayumanor played his entire career at Stanford. Oh my gosh.
Strange.
What? How? Right? And he
Those
was
Canadians,
like a senior.
man. They're too nice. They're too nice to leave.
Yeah, that's true. Palo Alto's pretty sweet. So there's 2 reasons why somebody transfers. One, to improve their situation, and you can maybe say that's probably the reason overall, but to challenge themselves with a higher competition level,
right,
is one. And the second reason you transfer is because you're buried on the depth chart and you don't have an opportunity to play. Cam Ward transferred up twice. Not because he didn't have the opportunity to play, because he wanted better. He wanted it to be tougher. He wanted to learn about it. Will Levis left Penn State because he was buried and couldn't beat out Trace McSorley or couldn't beat out Sean Clifford, right? Yeah. So he had to go find his next opportunity where there was an opening, not to create the path himself. I think Will Levis is very much an indoor basketball guy. And Cam Ward is an outdoor basketball guy who got indoor resources later on. And I think you see that with the nervous system comment that Callahan told you back in January. Indoor basketball guy doesn't have to worry about the nervous system because everything's gone right. Everything is set up nicely for that player to succeed with their resources. And so when it doesn't, there's panic. And then with Cam, nothing's gone right. He's lost a lot off the field, and he's been able to level up along the way, so I think there's a lot of depth to what this conversation is about with Cam Ward's background, of a lot of different positives that you can pull from it, and maturity and wise. Like I saw Darren says, by losing, the wisest NFL answer I damn near ever heard. The Titans, this better work, right? So that is a very wise answer from a almost 23-year-old guy.
It is. It is. Do we want to get to my answer here in a second?
Yeah, let's get to your answer.
Okay. I was afraid that our answers were going to be the same. They are not. That's good. They are sort of similar though, and in the same vein that yours ended up kind of pinning Cam versus Levis. Mine sort of does that too, but it's hard to talk about the strengths of Cam and the things to be excited about Cam without talking about the things that you're excited to be moving on from, which is Will Levis. And there are some elements of their game that are similar, but there are a lot of elements of their game that are the polar opposite of one another. And that's, I think, part of the reason why the Titans were so in love with him, is that, for better or for worse, teams swing the opposite direction, sometimes all the way, to get away from something that has been making them pull their hair out. And my answer, so your answer was his background, right?
His background, yes.
My answer is his instincts. And it's kind of an all-encompassing thing that we've been talking about with him that makes him special. The nervous system thing that you talked about. It's the thing that if folks read the Albert Breer piece at SI earlier in the week, which I certainly recommend you do, it's not all going to be new to you, because it's a lot. It's basically a lot of things that we reported along the way, all woven together really masterfully into one big article. So it's a really good piece of storytelling from Breer, along with some quotes that we've not heard from some of the guys in the Titans building. But I pulled one here, and this is from the article from Mike Borgonzi. And you've heard some things probably akin to this, but Mike said, quote, "I'm not comparing him to Pat Mahomes, but some of the stuff I saw with Pat, just in terms of his instincts, spatial awareness, arm talent, arm angles, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Pat." And again, we've heard these things. People have danced around it. Obviously, nobody wants to make that direct comparison, because how ridiculous, right? And it is ridiculous and completely unfair, wildly unfair to Cam. However, his instincts are what make me most excited, Austin, because they are exactly the opposite of what we saw and frankly kind of had to deal with Levis. And you hear throughout the draft cycle, talking to these guys a lot in that article, about how they fell in love with his feel for the game. And I think this kind of goes along with his background too. It does, Austin. And yeah, this kind of just hit me. Part of the reason why his instincts are so impressive to me, any quarterback that has real natural God-given instincts, that's a wow thing for me. But he's not somebody that's been playing real big boy quarterback for long. He's not, Trevor Lawrence, being groomed to be a professional killer at the quarterback position since he was 10 years old. He's not somebody that has been working on his 3-step versus his 5-step versus a 7-step drop since he was in grade school. And, you hear stories about how, again, kind of going back to that Breer piece, for example, the Titans meet with him twice in March in the same week. Monday at his pro day, Friday at his private workout. On Monday, Callahan identifies a false step in his under center drop back. And he's like, "Oh, there's a little thing we're going to need to iron out right there." And he mentions to Cam at the end of that workout before they leave to go back to Nashville on Monday, "Hey, here's what you're doing. Here's what you need to do. See if you can't have this fixed by Friday," which is a big ask for a guy that's not actively training. He's going through the draft process. He's not actively training right now.
Right.
And also you're asking him to fundamentally change the way that he drops back from under center, a very fundamental thing to playing quarterback, a thing that he's done thousands of times in practice. And yet they get back on Friday and they do their private workout and they try to put him under stress and see if he can make that change. And he does, effortlessly, flawlessly, like the natural athlete that he is. And I think that's the kind of thing where this guy, his instincts are impressive, and it's even more impressive to me the fact that his instincts are where they are from the amount of time he's been playing football. And he has such a natural God-given feel in the pocket. And he has such a natural God-given feel for the arm angles that he needs to generate, to find the correct window, to get the ball out cleanly, the timing with which he can get it to the players downfield, a feel for who's open and who's not, like things that feel basic to quarterbacking, but can go so underrated in terms of the floor that you need to be an NFL caliber plus player.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that all the way. Jay says the disrespect and mockery A to Z has put on a nice guy like Will Levis. I hope he gets his revenge. Like, we're not trying to mock Will Levis. We're just trying to be real. Like, Will Levis had this time a year ago, we were not talking this way about Will Levis.
I spent a lot of last year fighting you guys defending Will Levis. I'm not going to sit here and listen to this retconning from folks like, who was that, Jay? Jay must be new around here, because I was going to war on some Sundays with folks defending Will Levis's honor. So that is
we're just being real about what Will Levis's situation was. And he didn't take advantage of the opportunity.
I think Will Levis is good. It is also fundamentally true that he struggles with feel in the pocket. He struggles with feel of pressure. He struggles with timing downfield and identifying things ahead of schedule. These are all things that we knew about him before he came out. These are all things that we knew he was going to have to improve in the NFL. They are things that we know if he finds a way to improve, he has every capability in the world to be a very good NFL quarterback. But those are all things that are impossible not to compare him to Cam Ward with, because Cam Ward comes out of college, unlike Will, with those listed as strengths instead of weaknesses. And it's part of what the Titans are attracted to in Cam Ward. And it's part of what Titans fans should be excited about in getting Cam Ward, that's going to feel a lot different to you on Sundays watching the guy under center, because he's the exact opposite of the guy you watched last year doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, Will Levis is a textbook smart guy. Like he knows the answers to the tests when he's taking the test and not in the playing field. It's just he struggles with the instincts side of things. And I think that's where a lot of times whenever a company, a team, a athletic department, a franchise, whatever it is, when you have something in an important spot that's not working, you tend to swing very hard the other direction. And I think Cam Ward is a big swing hard the other direction when it comes to the instincts and natural flow. Now, James did bring up something. Let's see if I can go back and find this comment. Justin James said this, about how last year Will Levis made a lot of similar plays to what we've seen Cam do and make, but they didn't go very well. So Will Levis had a lot of Cam-like plays last year that just didn't work out. If they do, we don't view him the way that we do. True, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think it's really important to know the difference of playing reckless and how Levis and Cam Ward both have reckless moments, but they're for different reasons. Just like Will Levis and Cam Ward both transferred in college in their careers, but for different reasons.
Yes. Sorry, I got totally sidetracked. I think that a part of this is unavoidable, the comparison with Levis and Cam. And I understand that some of it's just not going to be fair, but that's just the way that it's going to be. So we don't have to keep, I guess, beating this horse, Austin, but I do think that there are some, and to that commenter's point, I'm not saying that they are completely dissimilar players. Not at all. We're going to get to here in a second some things that concern us about Cam Ward, and there's some overlap there. So I'll kind of leave the tease at that, because they aren't entirely dissimilar, and I won't be surprised if there's some things where it's like, well, that feels kind of Levis-y, and we're watching it on Sunday in September, and it's like, I sure hope that we can iron it out of this guy, because they weren't able to iron it out of Levis.
Yeah, for sure. There's one more piece of video I want to play before we talk about what concerns us most about Cam Ward panning out with the Titans. And he was asked about his leadership and how he was able to, jump into different college atmospheres and become a leader from day one. Here's Cam Ward from his Friday intro presser.
You've been able to insert yourself in 3 different college programs and be the leader, be the guy, all 3 places immediately. What's the challenge on doing it at this level, surrounded by millionaires and guys who've been in this league?
I just think just being real on time with stuff, especially offensively. You have to be an elite communicator. I think that's what I learned, being in college. I think that's why we were able to have one of the best offenses at Miami this last year. We had elite communication from myself, the O-line, the receiving core, and the running backs. And so I think that's the big part is, continue to me get better each year in and out. But I think communication is a big key to us having the success.
Easton, there's two words that this company runs by, right? With A to Z Sports. What are those words?
I've heard them a couple of times.
Yeah.
Communication is one of those words.
Mm-hmm.
And is it accountability or reliability?
Reliability.
Yeah.
Accountability is after you mess up. Reliability is
That's a good point.
There you go. So no, but communication, reliability, because and that's what, if you remember Josh Pate's comments from last week talking with Buck about the story of within the first 2 to 3 days of Cam Ward being at Miami and how he was able to just instantly galvanize and rally those players and have the player-led practices and workouts over the summer to get that communication reliability off to a good start. So it's what's the challenge here is that he's one of the youngest guys in the room, and he's going to have to step on to all these guys who are, married and have kids and have like careers and all types of investment stuff. And, they've got lives, they've got other things. But I think Cam's background of fighting and scratching and clawing for everything that he's gotten, and his communication style and his ability to hold people accountable and him being reliable himself, I think those are traits that make veteran players instantly respect a younger, more inexperienced guy, right? Like I just immediately, like I'm going to play again the overall first clip that I played, because when I hear Cam Ward, who is not 23 yet, answer questions like this, it's instant respect gained and earned from a lot of people, I'm sure.
Hear your general manager say that it was not only you as a player, but you as a person that attracted this organization to you and wanting to make you the number one pick.
It means a lot, especially, my background, where I came from, on what I had to do to get to this journey. But, it's all, God and hard work. And I just think I did a lot of little things in my career to, take care of everything, to maximize my talents. And so I'm excited to get to work here. Just meeting my guys in the locker room, in the cafeteria already. I know some good things are about to happen.
Cam, you have your parents here. They played, obviously, a critical role in your development and everything. What do you say to them? Now that you've gotten to this point, how can you repay them for all the work they put in?
I just think I can't repay them. Nothing can, just what they sacrificed since I was a kid all the way to high school to where I am now. Just they sacrificed financially for me, time-wise. There was days my dad would wake up at 5 a.m. We drive halfway across Texas to get to camps. And so I'll never be able to repay them, but, I just hope, me being to repay them one way is, just by putting on for them and the family on the field.
How'd you develop that skill for being so level-headed, the not getting high, getting low, and just kind of what is the key to keeping that in the tough moments?
I would say by losing a lot in my life, and whether it's off the field, on the field, I just think the more you never change your level, more good things will happen to you. And, you also got to be a good teammate, because at the end of the day, I'll never be the only person to win us a game. I'll always be, receiver catching the ball, the running back running, defense tackling. And so, everybody plays a vital role, and, I'm just trying to do mine each week out.
It's wild. Like it's a very mature 100 seconds of Cam Ward, right? And I think it's very impressive. So we'll see how.
Something, by the way, this is a little bit off the beaten path, but I was thinking this when it happened, and I've not really had a chance to bring it up. And I'm curious if it reads to folks that aren't in the room. But my biggest takeaway about Cam, the person, from that brief first interaction with him, and I kind of had this sense beforehand based on like videos that we've seen throughout the process. I love how he just does not care. I don't think he cares about anything besides football. And that's kind of a thing we hear about, like, oh, this guy, he's all ball all day. But there's something about the way that he carries himself and the way that he talks. And, I'm noticing that on draft night, when you compare all the guys that are there in person in Green Bay, he is in the most generic, I mean this in the most endearing way, like went to Macy's, got a suit off the rack, wearing a nice pair of dress shoes, not white dress shirt, no tie, not flashy at all. Other guys are wearing their like custom, like, look what I got stitched into the inside of my jacket. And I've got, I've got my brooch right here. It's got my initials on it, diamond encrusted.
I mean, wearing the brightest color of pink you could possibly find.
Right. Right. Exactly. He's not doing any of that. He's the most uninteresting looking dressed guy there. And again, I mean that in the most positive way.
Yeah.
And then he does the same thing. He shows up. Personal thing of mine. He's a dress shoes with suit guy, not sneakers with suit guy, which is big stock up for me, but that's neither here nor there. He is somebody that goes to the podium, and a couple of like media-y questions that are kind of that get asked where you're kind of trying to, they would get objected to in a court of law because you're kind of leading the witness and you're trying to kind of get at something.
Right.
And if what you're trying to get at, there were a couple, and I have to go back and find them, but there were a couple questions where somebody was trying to get at something. And something that I think we're going to see as a common theme with this guy is, if you're trying to lead him in a direction that he just doesn't agree with, like he just thinks there's nothing there, he's not going to indulge you. Some guys will indulge you and kind of lean into it, like, well, yeah, sure. Like that's kind of a thing sometimes. And, crowd noise, like it's a big deal that whatever it is. His answer was just like, nah, not really. Not really. And it's not dismissive or rude where some guys just don't want to talk to you. He's just telling you what he thinks. I think he's an open book. I think that he's fearless in the face of anything, but meeting something, I got to shake his hand and talk to him, and he was a very genuine, very like with you kind of guy. Like, again, some of these guys, especially when they're getting whisked around on the day that they've been drafted, they're kind of glassy eyed. You can tell they're kind of looking past you, and you don't hold against them because they're meeting a million people. They're thinking, I'm never going to remember this guy's name. I'm going to have to learn it over time, which fair, fine. But he was there with me. And these are all little things that, again, can be written off as like, well, like we're kind of like puffing it up, fluffing it up a little bit. But it all adds up to me to a guy that just is real and just cares about football. And I remember that clip of him and Shitter Sanders from Instagram or something where they're talking about, Sanders is talking about something. And Cam was, I think about his rap career. And Cam was talking about, I want to be known for football. American football. I want on my gravestone one day to say Cam Ward, American football. That's what I want people to know me for. And I think he means that. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah. Keeps the main thing. Greg says he's just down to earth, not adding any fluff or BS, 100% on that. So, all right. Now, look, we've talked a lot of positive. There's reason to be positive of Cam Ward, of like his approach, his background, his mentality, and how he goes about his business. But it's not like a shoe-in, right? What makes you most concerned or most worried about Cam Ward panning out for the Titans as their franchise quarterback? What makes you most worried about Cam Ward working out as the franchise quarterback here? We'll get to that here in a moment, your answers on this one, because it's only fair to do both sides of things. But the Bone and Joint Institute, they'll help you out. If an injury occurs in life, just like in football, it happens. So you have to make sure you know who you can trust and who you can rely on to help that injury get healthy, go away, get back to your regular life. The Bone and Joint Institute has all the resources, the experts, the doctors, the equipment for physical therapy and for surgery, and the best top state-of-the-art equipment they could possibly find, all under one roof in Franklin, Tennessee, off of Highway 96 and I-65, next to Williams Medical Center. They can take care of you with any type of injury. Hopefully you don't need surgery. That's good. They can educate you on how to manage that pain and that injury throughout your life. But check them out online. Book an appointment, boneandjointtn.org.
There's so much more to say, but first, make sure you have liked the show and left us a 5-star Google review. Very helpful to us. Very helpful to the A to Z Sports website. Just leave whatever comment you want on that. That's fine. We will read them. If you want to leave some constructive criticism, that is fine, but make sure it comes in the form of a 5-star Google review.
Yep. Do it. That's huge. So what makes you most concerned or most worried about Cam Ward working out as the Titans franchise quarterback? Are you seeing answers in the chat, Easton?
I am. Bork and Darius say turnover-worthy plays. Eric says Brian Callahan. Tall Texan, the organization. Ira Hoshi, his footwork. Let's see. Brad also says Callahan's ability to develop and refine him. Deborah, the team around him. Lugine says nothing. All in. No fear. Mike says Brian Callahan. Jolene says Callie and his offensive scheme. Bobby, the Titans' history of killing quarterbacks. Titans, Kyle, the Titans. So a lot of PTSD in here. Titans history. Greg, the hero ball aspect is the only concern that he has, if any. Cody says the Titans front office. Interesting. So I'd imagine that's the players he's putting around him. Kendall, top of the line here because of the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Kendall. His demeanor, mentality, and underdog story. He's starting to. Oh, this is to the last question.
Yeah, this is the positive.
His demeanor, mentality, and underdog story are the positive things for Kendall. He's starting to remind me of Tom Brady off the field right now. Not saying he is, just similarities. Fair enough, Kendall. Back to some negativities here. Organizational stability from Coach Wills, good or bad. I want the organization to be on the same page, which is a question. I do think that there are some positive signs in that regard, but that's going to be an ongoing.
Let me pause you here because I want you to go back.
Okay.
To some of the answers, but because I hear a lot of, and this has to do with like Jeff on our draft shows, like the Titans will not draft a receiver on day 2 because the franchise doesn't value wide receivers. Like that was a big thing that Jeff was just spamming the chat, right?
Okay.
And they didn't draft a wide receiver on day 2, ironically, but just because
that's not the reason why, but
no, I know, but like,
yeah,
I think it's, I'm saying that to get to this of the Titans' history of killing quarterbacks is irrelevant because the people in charge of developing this quarterback are completely different than the people that were in charge of and responsible for killing the previous quarterbacks. Like,
correct.
That doesn't correlate. Like the Titans not drafting or investing in wide receivers previously does not impact the trio of Brinker, Borgonzi, and Callahan not drafting a wide receiver on day 2. And honestly, the Titans have actually drafted receivers often high. They haven't worked.
Yeah, I would also question the idea that the Titans have a history of killing quarterbacks. Do they have a history of killing quarterbacks? Or do they have a history of drafting quarterbacks that aren't good? Like, well, did you have a good thing that you killed, or did you fail to identify a good thing? Like I'm not saying the Titans are completely faultless in the way that they've handled talent in the building, but like, did they kill Jake Locker? Or was Jake Locker ever going to pan out? Did they kill Vince Young, or was that a kind of a thing, a flash in the pan that just wasn't ever going to quite work out for them? Did they kill Marcus Mariota, or did they have multiple good years with him where they found the ceiling of 9-7 and decided this guy's good, he belongs in the NFL, but is he quite ever going to be an NFL starter? Well, the rest of his career is going to prove it out. No. So
I think, look, Cam Ward is the 5th top 10, top 8 quarterback that this franchise has drafted dating back to Steve McNair.
Mm-hmm.
McNair worked out. We know, yes, obviously. Vince Young was the next one. That did not work out.
It did short
term.
It didn't.
I think Marcus Mariota was probably the same thing.
We'll always have that Madden cover. And Marcus was the same way. Yes. Yeah.
Jake Locker was not. Jake Locker, I think the Titans organization is most responsible for Jake Locker and Mariota not working out.
Interesting.
Because I think that was Bud Adams' death, lack of leadership and direction from the very, very top, lack of plan after Bud passed, because Bud never wanted to believe that he was going to pass and never developed the plan afterwards.
I too think I'm never going to die. That's the
total chaos.
In common.
Jake Locker and Marcus Mariota both got hurt. Some of their own doing for being reckless and not protecting themselves. But a lot of them were because the franchise was not putting competent players around them or coaches around them to help put competent players around them. So I think of those 4, of the 3 that have failed, VY, Locker, Mariota. Locker and Mariota were failed by the franchise more than Vince Young was.
I don't think that's unfair. I do the Locker one, fine, I'll give you that. The Marcus one, I just don't know if I agree. I think he was given a lot of chances, and I think that he has still been given a lot of chances in the NFL, and he's just proven to be what he is. That he just does not have the next gear that you need to be an NFL starter.
True, but I think they put a stop on him because I think he could have developed that next gear if he trusted his situation more, because he continued to get hurt and that hurt his trust and also kept him from reaching that next gear. I think it was a mental thing with Mariota that we can all unpack, and have.
Yeah, maybe.
before.
I don't know. Maybe I'm cynical. I think it was
Again,
I think it was a can't throw between the numbers thing with Marcus Mariota that was just never gonna not be a thing.
I mean, that might be
So,
yes.
yeah.
I'm thinking more of like the mental makeup of what happened.
Yeah, and that part, maybe, but yeah. Anyways, we can get back to the question at hand. How are
But
the Titans going to kill
my,
Cam
my
Ward?
point, my point is that just because Mariota and Locker and Vince Young didn't work out doesn't mean that Cam Ward will or won't. It's irrelevant. There's no
Correct.
correlation.
Correct.
Yes. So, Easton, what concerns you, or what are you worried about most of Cam Ward not panning out here?
Well, Austin, the thing that made you the most confident was his background. The thing that I'm most worried about, also kind of his background. The double-edged sword here, right? And that's what I'm going to lean into is my answer. The fact that it is exciting how, and this is also kind of my answer, his instincts, right? It is exciting how natural this is for him and how quickly he has risen as a talent in the very short time frame that he has been playing playing pro style quarterback. But it is simultaneously concerning in the immediate, the first year or two, as we were just talking about, critical to the development of a quarterback in the NFL and kind of the sink or swim element of it. The fact that he isn't this deeply refined, trained child soldier in a way, guy that has the codes deeply ingrained in their DNA. There is those are the rougher edges around his profile. And those are the things that the team is going to be tasked with working out for him. And it is little things that, just again, I think maybe we all can relate to this in our various areas of work or our various hobbies or talents. Like you in things that you're good at, you come across people every now and again who just naturally have it, and they're raw as all get out. And you find it, you get in these funny situations where it's like, this guy is capable of doing things that I could never do, but I'm teaching him how to do something that I learned on day 3. It's funny that he doesn't know this little thing. It's funny that Cam Ward is a bona fide first overall pick in the NFL draft and going to hopefully change the face of a multi-million-dollar franchise. And yet he had a false step in his under center drop back that a coach had to fix at his pro day. Like nobody saw that before. He didn't like that. That's the kind of thing that 10-year-old Trevor Lawrence is getting ironed out in middle school. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's stuff like that, little footwork things that everyone mentioning, the turnover worthy play things. Like, yes, the decision making, again, clearly a natural ability there, but he's still fine tuning that natural ability. It's like the superhero cliche where like a kid gets his powers, but they don't know how to use them yet. Like, I'm not sure Cam Ward is in full control of the natural superpowers that he has. And his success in the NFL is going to ultimately boil down to his ability to continue his development. And by development, we kind of throw around development as a general umbrella term. What I'm talking about with development is learning to use his powers for good and not evil. And he has shown, and that's part of the reason why he's the first overall pick. He has shown a proclivity at all 3 stops in college of the past 4 or 5 years, every single year, sometimes game to game, to learn and to learn from the losing, like he mentioned in the clip you've played a couple of times. And so that is the promise of it. That's why my confidence outweighs my concern with Cam Ward for sure.
Yeah.
Is that he's shown he can do it. But if he doesn't keep doing it, it's not going to work. He is not to the point he needs to be as a developed NFL passer. Not close, in my opinion, honestly. And I love the guy. I love the guy as a prospect. But he's not there to be the guy that the Titans need him to be to prove worth it as a first overall pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans drafting for year 2, year 3 is Cam Ward's included in that, right? Like, I think very much so. So why do top high pick quarterbacks fail? I think.
How long you got?
I mean, not terribly long. Like what are the most common reasons, like in a bullet point list?
Sure.
It's the franchise's structure, bad coaching, bad alignment with timing of all that. So like the rotation of play callers and coordinators, poor offensive line play, just things that are out of their control, or just bad injury luck at times, which, happens, or just a misevaluation or the inability to fix the flaw that was on the draft scouting report.
Right.
Like Jameis had, hey, this guy takes a lot of risk, but they paid off at Florida State, and he just never was able to overcome that flaw from his scouting report.
Yeah, fundamental mental shortcoming, physical limitation that ultimately, like, you can't do that at an NFL level, or injuries are kind of the breakdown of that.
I think I'm not worried about Cam with the mental makeup.
Me neither.
I'm not worried about Cam's ability to adjust and adapt to his situation because he's had 3 levels of or examples of success doing that.
Situations, very different.
Yep. Yeah. And thrive with those.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to answer the question. So I think the one thing that makes me worried most is inability to overcome the flaw in the scouting report, which is hero ball.
Okay. Yeah.
And because it's so easy, right? And Will Levis is still trying to figure this thing out of how do you just stay disciplined and within the structure and not just, it's all of us when we're on the tee box, you're like, man, this is like a straight fairway. I'm just going to groove it in there.
400 yards.
I'm not going to swing too hard. I'm not going to swing I'm just going to groove it right through. We're going to play a great second shot. And then you're at the top of your backswing. You're just like, F it, bang. And then it just goes one direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's keeping that in check and not allowing the hero nature to take over his nervous system, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you that, and again, this circles back to the top of the conversation. Why aren't more people talking about Cam Ward this week? Well, it's kind of hard to, because it is hard to find the things like the push and the pull of the debate. What is the negative? Some of them are obvious and kind of boring. And so I think that this is the one that is the fair thing for Titans fans to like. Some things I think you need to wait to see to believe, and some things I think you can kind of take team's word for it or take the college tape's word for it. Like, I think the mental makeup, maybe some folks feel like they need to see it to believe it. That's the kind of thing that there's so much there. There's so much that I'm like, you know what? I think that's real. I'm willing to believe that now. It's something like the hero ball decision-making, ball security. So fumbling more an issue with him than Will Levis ever had, for example. Right. That's the kind of thing that I know they're going to work on, and they'll talk a big talk about it throughout the summer, but I'll need to see that one to believe it.
Yep. What about this one? Oh, where was I? I'm sorry. I completely.
What about this one?
I don't know. I'm on a lot of allergy medicine right now. But no, I lost.
Austin's tripping balls on the morning.
Yeah, just crazy. On antihistamine, which is weird.
But
it's just here it is. He was in a quarterback draft class, kind of of his own.
Yeah.
So how much does that make him look even better than maybe he actually is? Because we did not have the next prospect to go toe-to-toe, head-to-head comparison with.
Right.
Like, Cam Ward is so much better of a quarterback prospect than Jackson Dart.
Yes. So much. I mean,
so much. Like, there's
in
so
my
much
opinion, incomparable.
Yeah. And Zizal.
I can't stand Jackson.
But Jackson Dart, like, he's his goofy ass face, clapping at John Gruden, like, purple, ridiculous. Like, but there was not the 1A, 1B quarterback prospect in this class.
Mm-hmm.
So it made Cam Ward the obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that affected the Titans' evaluation, decision-making throughout the entire draft process. I think it made it easier.
I do. But it's impossible to know. It's impossible to know until we see him on. We weren't able to compare him to his peers in the draft class, so we're going to have to wait to be able to compare him to his peers in the NFL here in a couple months.
Yep. And rookie minicamp coming up just a little over a week away.
That's right.
So, all right, Easton, you ready to wrap this thing up? And it's about time for me to take more Benadryl. So you ready to wrap this thing up and head to some sports trivia?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Save money by going there with your new car buying process, not paying the big downtown Nashville prices. wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Easton, are you ready for some trivia?
Hit it.
All right, here we go. Trivia time. Easton's the trivia master. We start with the NFL. We go counterclockwise around the board and finish up in the center with celebrity mashup. Let's do it.
Lock in, chat. You need your help, especially with baseball. Of course, we got baseball. All right, NFL. Here
Baseball
we go.
yesterday when we had Sam here for his finale.
This Browns player edged out DeMar Hamlin for 2023 AP Comeback Player of the Year. That would be Joe Flacco, the funniest comeback player of the year ever.
Yep.
Geography. He beat the guy that died. What is the capital of the Netherlands? Amsterdam?
I don't know.
Is it Amsterdam, chat? I need a confirmation on that. I think it's Amsterdam. Denmark is its
a
own
country. Nick, come on. I just have to put this up there so Easton and I don't sound like idiots.
Amsterdam. All right. Cool.
Yeah, okay, Amsterdam.
Good. John Turturro, Riz Ahmed, and Michael W. Williams starred in this critically acclaimed 8-part crime drama miniseries that aired on HBO in 2016. I love John Turturro, but I don't know what this is.
No clue.
Crime drama miniseries on HBO.
From
the night of.
That sounds good.
It's an option.
Yeah, hit it.
100%. All right. Nice. Good pull. Mark Wahlberg played a veteran military sniper framed for murder in this 2007 action thriller featuring Michael Pena, Kate Mara, and Danny Glover. I know the movie.
Shooter.
Okay. I was about to say, I don't know the name of it.
This is what I was watching when Lane Kiffin left Tennessee to go to USC.
Featuring Meghan Trainor, which artist released a 2015 song with the following lyrics? Just like they say in the song Until Dawn, let's Marvin Gaye and get it on. It's Charlie Puth. With over 1,400 U.S. locations, the word burgers and fries are typically found under the name of this chain with a red and white color scheme.
Red and white.
Burger King? Red and white.
Burger King's got blue and gold kind of.
Red and white, is that? It's not Arby's because they're more than burgers and fries. Is it Jack in the Box?
Five Guys? Five Guys Burgers and Fries.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good call.
Good call, chat.
Nice.
Noah.
Nice.
Boston.
This SEC school went 16-15 during the 1920 season, despite featuring future number 1 overall pick Anthony Edwards.
Georgia.
If I can spell, why won't Georgia show up? Thank you. All right, baseball, help us. Drew Henson started in an NFL game at quarterback and played 8 Major League games for this American League team in 2002 and 2003. This is news to me. I did not know this.
You know that Drew Henson was a baseball player?
I've never heard of this guy in my life, to be honest with you.
Come on, man. He was a Yankees. He was a draft.
Is he a Yankee?
Yeah, Yankees.
Okay.
Drew Henson was a big time draft topic.
Celeb mashup. The middle
dude
guy.
From Always Sunny on the outside and Joel McHale on the inside.
I was about to say. Who's the outside guy?
The guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Is it?
Maybe.
I think it looks like Louis Tomlinson or something.
I don't know who Louis Tomlinson is.
One Direction guy. Chat. Okay. Who's got the nice highlighted coiffed hair here? Charlie Day? Is it Charlie Day?
No.
I was about to say his hair's darker than that.
It's the tall, the not.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name.
Yeah, I don't know his name either. Somebody help. Help.
Bill Burr on the inside? No, not quite.
No, it's definitely.
The character is Dennis. Yes.
Yes, it's Dennis. It's Dennis.
Bustin' Diamond says it's not Dennis. Who is this, chat? We are killing it with time, and then this is
Who's Austin Butler? I have no idea.
He played Elvis in the Elvis biopic.
Oh.
He's a very good actor.
Glenn Howerton? No idea who that is.
Me neither. Is it Austin Butler?
I don't know.
Actually, I think it might be. I'm going to try it. Wow. Okay.
Hey,
nice.
You got it.
Not bad, man. I can't. It's my own fault for not worshiping the celebrity of America, I guess. I'm not a big celeb guy, but 408, not bad. 9 for 9. We'll take it.
Austin Butler. Yeah,
Good
I guess
actor.
that-
He
I
he
guess that
played
is
the
him.
protagonist in Dune 2, or excuse me, antagonist.
Glenn Howerton. Is that who that is?
Who that is?
Yeah,
Oh,
that is.
the guy from Always Sunny.
Yeah,
Oh,
that looks a lot like. By the way,
he does. I think he maybe had that kind of hair in his younger days.
they're in the same ears. So
Same ears. Okay. If you ever meet Glenn Howerton, tell him that he has Austin Butler's ears.
well, I just watched AP Bio recently, which is
Mm.
another show that he's in. So
True.
I've seen a lot of him in the past couple months. Okay, guys, that's it for this Thursday show. We appreciate all of you guys. If you haven't done it yet, like the show. You got to like the show. Like the show before you go. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and the Facebook page, and leave us a 5-star Google review. That goes a long way for our company. May is a big month because we get to see Cam Ward on the practice field coming up in about 10 days from now. So we'll have all of our content ready to go for Titans minicamp. And OTAs and everything else that happens in the month of May, including the schedule and all that good stuff. So make sure you hit that like button. We'll catch you guys on a Friday morning. Appreciate it as always.